Michael looked down at Leslie. She was just as beautiful, if not more so, than the day he first met her. 18 wonderful years together, two wonderful girls. What could be better? What they just achieved. The girls were visiting their grandparents for the weekend. This meant they could play games that they couldn't if they were caught. They were one. They were kindred spirits. Their friends were jealous. Neither of them looked at the other person. Both were outgoing, happy, and fun to be around. At least until Tuesday, Wednesday, when their world collapsed. Leslie was barely aware that she was lying on a bed in a strange room. She felt like she was in the twilight zone. Her brain couldn't function. She had no coherent thoughts. Everything seemed to be a very foggy, blurry world. She found it difficult to breathe. She didn't remember where she was or with whom. She tried to move, but could not. She tried to speak, but could not. When she came to her senses again, she felt that someone was nearby. It seemed like a man. She felt like she should know him, but her eyes were so out of focus that she couldn't tell who it was. The man stood at her head and said, "You will marry me." The man walked away, and Leslie thought she heard the door open. A few moments later, she heard a voice calling her name, but the sound was interrupted, as if strangled. She lost consciousness again. Michael. I had a very restless night. Leslie didn't return from work. There was no call, no message, not even damn WhatsApp. I called and called, but nothing. This had never happened before, so it wasn't like her. I called her friends, but no one knew anything, or at least that's what they said. Our daughters, Leanne and Audrey, were also worried. Mom doesn't do that. The police did not want to intervene yet. At about 7:45 the next morning, I received a message that she had a surprise for me in room 5009 at the Cornhill Hotel. I took the kids to school. This was a big relief considering what was about to happen. As I exited the elevator, I saw a man leaving the room near 5009. He didn't look in my direction. I couldn't see his face to identify him. If only he headed towards the stairs away from me. When I approached 5009, the door was slightly open. He left the bar so the door wouldn't close. I remember my pulse racing as I realized he was in Leslie's room. Why? When I opened the door, I gasped. I almost collapsed. I don't think I took one full step into that damn room. Leslie was naked on the bed. She was so beside herself that I don't think she realized I was there. It was clear from her posture that she had completely passed out. She must have drank more the night before than I've ever seen her before. I screamed, "Leslie!" before her name got stuck in my throat. I took one last look at Leslie, the love of my life. I didn't approach her. I took some photos in case she decided to contest the divorce. I was devastated. I never understood the true meaning of this word until this moment. I was so angry that I wanted to kill her for what she did to me, but then I remembered our children. Common sense took over because if I had done this, they would have lost both parents. I left and returned home. I was unable to work. I thought about what I would do next. First, she had to understand that I knew what she was doing. I've uploaded the photos I took and added a few words. "Leslie, I was worried about you all night, and you spent it in a hotel room having sex with someone. What you did, I don't want to know. Seeing a man leaving your room, you passed out, that was bad enough. Why you sent me a message asking me to come for a surprise, I will never know. It was the most cruel thing you ever did. You destroyed all my love for you. I never want to talk to your lying mouth, to see your lying ones. Eyes even accidentally bumping into you. You never thought about how this will affect our girls. I will have to explain this to them when they return from school. How? Home. Secondly, I told both grandparents. Leslie's parents couldn't believe it until I sent them the photos. It's cruel, looking back, but I was so consumed by anger that I didn't think about the feelings of others. Thirdly, divorce. I spoke with David, our friend and family lawyer. He was shocked when I told him. He later told me that the tone of my voice convinced him. The pain was obvious. He was ready to swear that Leslie would never cheat on me. He advised taking a few days to calm down and then starting the process. It might not happen instantly, But a malicious lawsuit could turn against me. Reluctantly, I followed his advice. Fourth, I canceled all co-branded credit and cash cards. On David's advice, I transferred some, but not all, of the money to a new account with instructions not to touch it for now. I spent time trying to figure out what to say to the girls when they got home from school. It was just as bad as I expected. Two upset girls. After I did that, I had nothing to occupy my thoughts. They replayed that scene over and over again. My world collapsed. When I thought about myself and about her, I could not see because of the tears. My life has changed. I have changed. Leslie. I woke up around 11 o'clock local time. I felt exhausted. It didn't seem natural. What's happened? I love Michael with all my heart. He and I are kindred spirits. I would never cheat on him. I remembered from the depths of my mind that Michael was here. He saw me. I collapsed on the floor. Tears flowed. I sobbed. My heart was breaking. I've never felt so bad. What have I done? I vaguely remembered the image of that man. Who was he? I took a shower and got dressed. It didn't make me feel any better. I felt worse when I looked at the phone. Michael sent photos he took. The words he used to express his anger tore the soul out of me. I was ordered not to return. I left the hotel and couldn't find my car. Even if she was there, I couldn't drive. I could barely function. I called my mom to ask her to pick me up. She was unhappy, she knew. "What have you done?" she shouted into the phone. "I don't know," I shouted back. "I need help." Mom reluctantly came and picked me up. She was mad at me. She took me to the pharmacy to get an emergency pill. I was ashamed and embarrassed. As if what happened wasn't enough, what made it even worse was that neither Mom or Dad believed me, that I didn't know what I'd done. They knew that I always tell the truth, but even that didn't help. I tried to explain. I know that I was in that hotel room with a man. The man had to undress me, use me. I remember him saying that I would marry him. I don't remember anything since we were celebrating in our office with Ryan and a few others, celebrating our new contract. It was about 4 yesterday. I was getting ready to go home. I don't remember anything except that Michael turned out to be with me from that moment until 11 in the morning when I woke up. I feel so tired, some kind of unnatural tiredness. I wasn't drunk, I only drank a soft drink. None of my protests could change their opinion, especially my mother's, that I knew what I was doing and was cheating. I told them I would never cheat on Michael. I love him. I would never do anything to hurt him or our girls. Since Michael had made it clear that I was not welcome in our home, they reluctantly invited me to stay in the garage annex, where my father's mother lived when she was ill. The condition was that we had minimal contact. I had to find an apartment as soon as possible. They weren't going to lose access to their grandchildren because, in Mom's words, a woman of easy virtue like me. It hurt more than if she had hit me. I needed their support, but all I got was their rage. I didn't know what happened. Nobody believed me. This cut me deeper than even Michael's words. It was 2 days before I could calm down and think rationally enough to ask my mother to arrange for me to visit home to pick up my clothes. I didn't expect Michael or the girls to be there after what he said. On the 3rd day, I called at work. Ryan told everyone that I took a few days to rethink my life. How the hell could he know anything? My car was there, so I took a taxi to pick it up. I didn't want to provoke another quarrel with my angry mother. I didn't have to look for my clothes. Michael left a large sign indicating that everything was in the garage. I loaded the bags of clothes into my car. I left my house keys, garage remote, and my rings in return. I could barely stand as I looked around what was a happy home. Now no one was happy. Alone, in the annex, I racked my brain every waking moment, trying to understand what had happened to me. I knew I would never cheat on Michael, so why did I do it? I didn't find the answer. On Monday, I returned to work. I felt like I could play a zombie in any movie without having to direct. I was just doing mechanical things. Ryan was very attentive. He couldn't do enough for me. My mind said be careful with him, but why? She got up, worked, sat alone, and went to bed. The ideal life for a 40-year-old. Michael got his way. I hope you're miserable for the rest of your miserable life. I still don't know why I didn't commit suicide. I thought about this every time I quarreled with my mother, which happened every time we clashed. The only reason I can think of was my need to find out why I was in that damned room. My parents actually avoided me. I thought they would at least try to listen to me, but no. I stopped trying to communicate with them. My dad seemed to want to talk, but my mom kept him under control. None of my friends at work seemed interested in helping either. I knew my own behavior wasn't helping. I closed myself off to protect myself. I was ostracized from the circle of friends that Michael and I had. I hated myself for what I did. I was insignificant. I needed a friend who would support me, help me, but I was alone. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived with delivery tracking. It was Michael's suit for divorce on the grounds of my adultery. Our friend, or rather his friend David, was his lawyer. This was not unexpected given the bile Michael used. We both always agreed that cheating would end any marriage, including our own. I contacted a lawyer to draft my response. When I explained what had happened, she was surprised that no one offered to take a substance test. Now it was too late. I blamed myself for this. I watched programs about illicit substances on dates and talked about it with my girls. Why didn't I think about this? Why? Where? Michael and David were fair in their property division proposals, but I was denied access to my girls. My lawyer offered counseling and access to the girls. Michael resisted the idea of counseling, but was forced to agree to provide access. If he had not done this, the court could order them to be with me. After their third visit, I spoke with my lawyer and asked that I not be granted any visitation rights. If they wanted to talk to me in the future, I would be happy, but I couldn't hurt them the way I did when they were with me again. They kept asking me why, and I couldn't give them an answer they could understand. I knew that this was unacceptable neither for them nor for me. They just cried and cried. I couldn't cry. I needed to know why I ruined our lives. Then I realized that I could put an end to this damn existence. Michael. If anything, the next day was even worse. We had to go shopping and my oldest had to put some hygiene items in her cart. I almost lost it in the store. Leslie always dealt with women's personal matters. The next day, Doreen, Leslie's mother, called. We always got along well. I couldn't use any mother-in-law jokes against her. John, her husband, and I had a very good relationship. He was very protective of Leslie when we started dating together, but soon realized that I cared deeply for her. After a while, he even put away the shotgun. Michael, can Leslie come and get her clothes? She knows you don't want to see her, so she'll come when the coast is clear. She is heartbroken, but says she doesn't know what she did or why she did it. We don't believe her. This hurts her just as much as your words. She'll be living in the garage extension for now because we can barely talk. I hope you and the girls don't mind if we come. If they come to us, we'll make sure Leslie stays away. I thought about her request for several minutes. I'm sure she thought I would refuse. I'll gather up all her things and take them for myself so she can just pick them up. Leanne and Audrey need both of you in their lives, so be normal grandparents to them. I could almost see Doreen's joyful look at this. Leslie packed her clothes and left her keys and rings. She realized that everything was over between us, I thought. Every day was a little better. We had our own daily routine. Over time, we collected more of Leslie's things that were in the laundry or ironing hamper or just in places we never checked. She was so organized that she put away her winter clothes for storage and so on. When we couldn't find something, Doreen acted as a go-between. Doreen also took Leslie's things we found home with her. David prepared a divorce petition and we reviewed it. The girls were adamant and did not want to see their mother ever again. David said it would come back because the court wouldn't allow it, especially if Leslie contested it like we both knew she would. Another option she would ask him to consider is counseling. This may seem like a reasonable request since I haven't said a word to her since that morning. He was right. Leslie asked for this. Lynn and Audrey didn't want to meet her, but I said they did too, as if they didn't and the court would rule on their mom's side and not me. Each time they returned very upset. Mom didn't tell them why. She simply repeated that she didn't know. Why couldn't she tell us? After their third visit, David received notice from Leslie's lawyer that she was withdrawing her request for visitation rights. This was the first sign of a normal Leslie, putting others first. Whenever Doreen came, she would tell me about Leslie. She still claimed she didn't know why. She was very withdrawn, even gloomy, and was angry with them. She went to work, came home, and went to bed. From that day on, she never went outside. On a fine day, she didn't even sit outside in the sun, which she always liked. The petition took 6 months to consider, and, as everything was agreed upon, it was accepted. The sheriff noted the lack of visitation rights, but Leslie's lawyer said Leslie did not want to cause her children more suffering. If they wanted to later, she would be happy for them to visit her. Leslie. I potentially had 4 apartments lined up, but I was very surprised when my mom refused to let me move into any of them. I suspect she thought I could turn on the red light above the front door. They were in a very poor area where this was not uncommon. Honestly, I wouldn't stay in this estate if I could avoid it. Since they were hostile to me, I insisted on paying them rent for the extension. I didn't want to do charity work. I heard a conversation at one of their parties. "Oh, our daughter is a woman of easy virtue. We did everything we could, but..." Every day I tried to figure out what I did to end up in this room, with whom, but nothing came to mind. What my lawyer said about illegal substances made sense, but I had no evidence. Even then it wouldn't help. Michael was free from a woman of easy virtue. For my peace of mind, I went to the clinic for an examination, and, fortunately, the results were good. I can't think of a more shameful thing I've done. At work, Ryan maintained his charm. For some reason, I felt uncomfortable around him. We had never been close colleagues, but this was new. I never went on office walls. Whereas before I was happy to be part of a social group, helping organize outings, chatting during breaks and laughing, I stayed away from everyone. I saw some people watching me with some concern. I came home, was left alone, and went to bed. I felt so depressed. The divorce took place. I was speechless. I couldn't believe that after everything that had happened between us, I still hadn't had a proper conversation with Michael. If my parents had him, then our meeting was an accident. A few words. Why? I don't fucking know. This sent us both into a brief screaming tantrum. I held back my tears. In no way did he see the pain he caused me. I was lying to myself. I saw the pain in his eyes, and I'm sure he saw the same in mine. About a week after the divorce, some things started to become clearer. I didn't tell anyone about this. Heck, outside of work, I didn't talk to anyone at all unless I was at the checkout counter. It was one afternoon at work when Ryan approached me. He said, "Now you are free to marry me." I jumped up and shouted, "You're not worth 1/1,000,000th of Michael." He looked stunned. I was stunned. Where did this come from? My heart was beating so hard that I was shaking. I looked at him like he was an animal. An angry Ryan began to walk around my table, but the woman screamed at him to leave. He looked back at her at the office. We were the center of attention. He left reluctantly. This woman, Brenda, was from another office. Even though I was so upset, I didn't cry. I let her take me out of the office. I was sweating, my whole body was shaking to the core. She said we needed privacy, so I offered my annex. Once in the annex, Brenda asked me, "What happened to you?" She was the first person to ask this question. There was genuine concern on her face. "Brenda, I don't know," I almost screamed. "Nobody believes me. My ex-husband, my children, my parents all think that I am a lying woman of easy virtue. All I know is that we celebrated a successful deal in the office at about 16 o'clock. I drank a soft drink because I rarely drink alcohol. The next thing I know for sure is it's 11 a.m., and I'm in a room at the Cornhill Hotel. I have a vague memory of a man saying, "Will you marry me?" The next vague memory is of Michael coming and seeing me apparently passed out on the bed. This was confirmed by the photos he took. We didn't talk about it. but his messages said I sent him a message to surprise. He refuses to believe that I don't know why I was there, so he doesn't want to talk to me. I was racking my brain trying to figure out why I did what I obviously did. I was no closer to solving it. My lawyer suggested that maybe I had been drugged with something. It made sense when I looked at everything after that. How I studied it, but I have no evidence. Who was that man? What did we do? Until Ryan said I should marry him, I didn't suspect him. I don't know where that comment came from. Ever since that happened, my mind has always said to be careful around him. But I do not know why. How did this happen? Do you have any ideas? Brenda said, "It's a long story. You're not the first. Many people in the firm know about Ryan and what he does. I suspect that some of the board of directors and even very senior managers were involved. This has been going on for at least 10 years. What I can prove against what I suspect is negligible. I know that in the Bristol office Ryan worked with two real creeps, Thatcher and Brown, who are now on the board. I suspect they taught Ryan how to mix things up. Prohibited substances to women so they could have sex with them, although the women would not remember this. Ryan was not very good at determining the dosage, and several women came to their senses and cried out very large sums to keep their name women. Didn't want a lawsuit and their names on the front page. I know there was another case in the York office and one in Carlisle involving Ryan and at least one senior manager I couldn't identify. Somewhere in your brain, there is a memory of what happened that night. It was so painful that your mind hid it to protect you. Knowing what I know about him, I suspect that Ryan planned everything carefully in advance to be ready when the opportunity presented itself. He would spike your drink when you were distracted. He would choose the moment to leave with you when it could be done without suspicion. From your description, he clearly had too much to do. Time to do everything he did. He was the one who sent the message to your husband specifically so that he would find you. Ryan's words, "Will you marry me?" caused a reaction in you when he said it today. Your comment confirmed it. Your awakening. But it's not supported by facts, by forensics. We can't prove any of it. Blood tests and DNA tests would prove it. I'm sure you've already guessed that I believe I'm one of the women they took advantage of. Like you, I can't prove it. Unlike you, I still don't know who was involved. Words from Ryan awakened your subconscious. I have to be careful in my investigations, as they are very powerful. From what I have learned, this group loves to share and add to their collection of stories. They use the company's servers. Payment records are stored on the most secure servers at the Inverness facility. All computers and company phones are identified when accessing our servers. Any attempt to access will be noticed. In any case, you cannot access these files since they are on a wired system and not on a wireless one, so access is only possible in the camera's office. Everywhere. The woman responsible, Ailsa, knows and would be happy to help destroy them. She may have been a victim too. Access to this information is almost impossible. She receives SD cards from Ryan and others to enter into the wired system. I suspect that these are records of their activities. Every month she downloads a certain set of files to SD cards and sends them to one person. I suspect that he passes the updates to others. Ailsa is always under surveillance by cameras, so she cannot copy SD cards before entering them into the system. She needs to format the cards immediately after removing them. The system will show that she has not done this, and she will be subject to their wrath. Given that, what do they have to lose? They will kill her. Sorry, I can't give you what you need to even help explain this to your girls. I'll always be here to support you if you need help. Call me if you want to talk. I know how hard it is to explain, come to terms with it when you only have vague feelings, fleeting memories. I use a second phone that is not associated with the company, so call that. I suggest you get a second phone too. Don't use your work phone or computer for anything related to finding evidence. Ryan had access to yours, so you don't know what he could have hidden there. Brenda's words about the company and their knowledge were amazing. Even without evidence, it made sense. I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. In 3 weeks, I have a 4-day trip to Inverness scheduled for training. I'm all for finding this evidence if I can. Do you think Ailsa can provide information on the type of CCTV cameras and how they work? How to determine which files to access? I had a friend who knew how to program them without them seeing what she was doing. I'll contact her and ask for help. She's on Michael's side, like all our friends. I won't bring Michael or my girls back, but at least I can give them the answer they're looking for. Brenda warned, Leslie, they are above the law. If you get caught, they will press charges against you or worse. Ryan is such a bastard that he might try to kill you or most likely hire someone to do it. He believes old connections will help him avoid punishment. Brenda, I explained sadly, I have nothing to lose. I'm already dead. I lost everyone. Michael, the girls, my family and friends. Death will be no different. I just won't be here, alone, night after night, in a living hell. At least they will have an answer to the question that tore us apart. They need closure. Brenda saw how sad I was and understood my determination to give my family an answer. I'll contact Ailsa and ask for the information you asked for. I hope it helps. Be careful, Ryan may be an immoral scumbag, but he knew something had changed in you when he spoke to you. He'll be on guard. He will keep an eye on you. You need to apologize and behave as before. If he suspects that you are digging deeper, you will be in real danger. Call me if you need anything. We broke up but spoke several times over the next few weeks. Her support helped me face the inevitable. The next few weeks at work were intense. I apologized to Ryan and asked for his forgiveness. I avoided repeating the words I said, hoping that he would think I forgot them and the reason behind them. I appreciated his attempt to support me, but I was grieving for the girls. They didn't talk to me. I couldn't think about new relationships at this time. I don't know if he suspected anything, but he kept his distance. I didn't do anything to show that I had any spark of life in me. I locked my work phone in a drawer every night. The first step was to convince Ruth, a computer hacker. I took her by surprise. The conversation was just as difficult as I expected. Ruth, I need your help. Why should I help you? She answered angrily. Ruth, I'm begging you, not for me, but for Leanne and Audrey. Please give me a few minutes to explain. You can say no, and I won't bother you again, I promise. Her eyes looked at mine. She must have seen my despair. Finally, she nodded. I now have good reason to believe that I was drugged with illegal substances, and someone told me that I am not the first. This concerns many high-ranking people in my company. They seem to record their exploits on a secure server. I want to get access to these records on the server. If I can get them, they will prove it. Then I need to get these records to whoever can pin them down. I need this because most likely I will be caught, whether in a secure area or outright, behind her. If they find me, I know they will not hesitate to kill me. I know Michael, the girls, my family and friends are already lost to me. They need closure. If I get killed, I won't lose anything because I've already lost everything. If I can pin them down and help someone else from becoming the next me, I should try. I need your help. I don't have the knowledge to hack their system. I have the details of the system and how it works. Don't ask how. Please help me. Ruth looked at me for a long time. I thought she was just going to tell me to fuck off when she said, okay, I could never believe you would cheat on Michael, so this was a real shock. If you were actually drugged, that would explain a lot. Damn powerful people. I'll do it for Leanne and Audrey. I hope you can put those bastards down. How are you going to access these servers and others? I gave her the plans that Brenda gave. I can't use my work computer or phone because they have tags that identify them. The files are on a wired system, so I need to get there. There are cameras there. I'll be there for 4 nights in 2 weeks. I'll look into it and get back to you soon if possible. I gave her my new cell phone number and explained why I had a second phone. She asked for my work phone number. She will check it for me. I gave her my login details. She said to change them after checking. At work, I went to HR and asked how to update all the different pension, benefit, and insurance plans I had for my family through the company. I used divorce as a reason. I wanted to give money to the girls, but was shocked to see that if I died, my pension fund would only pay out 25% to the girls. The only way to give them all this is to cash out now and use a trust fund to avoid taxes. I did it. I couldn't change the life insurance to pay out to them since they were under 18. I talked to my mother and agreed that she would be the beneficiary. She will provide this for the girls. My request shocked her as she asked if I was sick. I thought, as if you care. I said no, I just want to ensure a smooth resolution if anything happens to me. When the girls turn 18, I'll change it for them. I met with my lawyer and made a new will. Mostly everything went to the girls. My mom was furious when I said there wouldn't be a funeral. She fell silent when I said who would come to the funeral of a woman of easy virtue. I do not have friends. I didn't mention family, but her reaction showed that she understood that this included both Dad and her. Ruth called me in the middle of the next week. I spent Sunday morning with her. No wonder Brenda thought it was impossible. A very long story in a nutshell. Gain access through the company's non-computer, download a program that will give me control of the cameras. They will record the same 20 minutes again, showing the usual events, while I access the wired system. I needed several SD cards. Ruth gave me a super-fast encrypted satellite phone to download data as soon as I left the room. It had a serious level of encryption. I will send it to Brenda, David, and myself. If I die, they will receive emails with instructions on how to open the files. Ruth said my work phone records my calls and who I call. He sends a report to someone in Bristol. She was almost sure that he wasn't listening when I wasn't on the phone, but she warned me. When I returned home, my mother surprised me. It was the first good news in months. Leslie, Leanne asked me to see if you could make her the dress you were going to make for her dance. She looked but couldn't find one that fit. Will you make the dress? I replied, I'd love to, but I need to go home because my sewing machine and work tables are there. Leanne needs to be with me so I can fit the pattern to her. I'm leaving next week, so we need to do that. Now, otherwise I won't make it before the dance. All the materials and instruments are there. I don't think Michael and the girls will let me be there. If they do, I promise not to abuse their hospitality. Mom said, Michael said you would say so. This sewing machine cabinet took a long time to assemble, and he doesn't see a way to move it here. They will agree to help you. Call them and confirm. I can start this afternoon if Leanne is free. That's how I ended up at my former home. My heart was beating faster. My palms were sweating. I was scared of my own family. The neighbors' curtains were definitely fluttering with curiosity. I could almost hear jaws drop when Leanne let me into the house. I almost collapsed in surprise too. Michael watched as we entered my former shrine, where I was regaining my strength. I loved doing handicrafts. He used the garage. To say that our conversation was strained would imply that we were able to speak at all. We were having a hard time coping. Leanne was careful with what she said to me, so I explained, Leanne, I will always love you, Audrey, and your father. I think I know what happened, and I'm trying to get the evidence you need. I know that I can't undo the harm I've caused. If you ever need my help, just ask. I don't ask for your friendship or love in return. Knowing that I helped will be enough. Let's focus on your dress and not the reason I'm not here. We'll have to talk, so let's work together like old times. We'll lay out the pattern and material first. Then we'll need to check your true measurements. Audrey always seemed to bring us drinks. She was cautious at first, but later smiled at me. This was the first time in a long time. We exchanged a few words without arguing. Time flew by. I was surprised when Audrey came to tell me that their dinner was ready. I said I would stay and spread out the material while Leanne ate dinner. I was shocked when Audrey said, Daddy has prepared enough for you too. Even though I rarely ate more than once a day, if at all, I accepted the offer. It would be rude to refuse. I'm sure he noticed that I had lost weight. It was not the best dinner we ever had together. In fact, it was probably the worst. The atmosphere was tense, to say the least. Michael's cooking improved, and I commented on this. It was about 9 in the evening when I finished marking and cutting. Leanne and I pinned it in place, and she tried it on. A few small adjustments needed to be made, but she looked amazing. I asked Michael what time everyone would be home tomorrow so I could come over and start sewing the dress. I needed to buy a few things to complete, but I'll do that during my lunch break. He gave me a key to the house and said, "You'll finish before I do, and Leanne and Audrey will be at hockey practice. We'll be home around 6:30 p.m. We'll get burgers from a local diner." I said I might be here, but don't worry about food for me. If I'm hungry, I'll buy something. By Wednesday evening, the dress was finished. Leanne showed it off and got a wow from her dad and Audrey. I talked Leanne into letting me pick her up on Saturday and pick out some more grown-up lingerie to boost her self-esteem. Not sexy, but quality lingerie that supports and covers. I explained this to Michael, expecting a bad reaction, but he agreed. I returned the house key. That Saturday morning was almost like old times. My mother came with us. Leanne seemed interested in very provocative lingerie, but we convinced her otherwise. I think she was just teasing me. She saw some of my things. She was excited about what she chose. More mature than childish, but still protected. When she showed the provocative lingerie, I remembered the times when I wore such lingerie for Michael. It seemed like an eternity ago. What have I lost? Why? We went to have coffee and eat cake. I surprised her with another gift. I gave her a spiked bottle cap. She allowed her to drink, but did not allow anyone to mix anything into her drink. She had to be careful because there are unscrupulous people who do this. I gave her several of these plugs for her friends. After we took her back, Mom asked about traffic jams. I just said, "It's a pity that I didn't have these." Her face was quite a sight to behold. Maybe she will understand the true meaning of these words later. Before leaving for Inverness, I told her that there was an envelope to deliver to David if anything happened to me, and another to send to my only friend. She wanted to know more, but I explained that I couldn't tell her for her own safety. She looked worried, more worried than I have been in the last 8 months. I went to Inverness excited about what I might find. I was also very sad. I may never see my girls again. I treasured the few hours I had with them. I understood that, most likely, I would be caught if I could get inside at all. Brenda left no doubt that I would either end up in prison or most likely dead, because if I spoke, something would remain. I just hoped I could make it and use the satellite link before I got caught and stopped. On Monday morning, it was Ryan who gave me the opportunity. He was trying to contact me to ask for some files I was working on, so he contacted the hotel. I explained that in a hurry I left the phone in the office. My work laptop is dead. It may have been faulty since I charged it in the office before leaving on Friday. I would use the hotel lounge to access the files and forward them to him. I did it. The company's non-computer and camera controls are loaded. Now I had to hope it would work. The course ended around 3:30 p.m. to allow more local participants to travel home. I complained about the local roads, but their roads were like goat trails compared to ours. I made up an excuse to avoid meeting my course colleagues later. I headed to the server building. Elsa was there. We never spoke and do not speak now since there were microphones. She left a note with a directory of files and names. These names had no meaning, but for hiding something, they worked well. I gained access to the cameras and began the dubbing program. I connected the recording instructions 20 minutes before I entered so that no one would see that I was there if they looked at the recordings. Ruth explained how to do it and how everything would be relevant, but to be honest, I didn't understand. I just had to trust her. If not, Elsa and I were in grave danger. I checked the monitor and saw that no one was there. I accessed the wired system and found the files. I started downloading the files indicated by Elsa. This took at least 5 minutes, maybe closer to 10. The volume contained so many files. I don't remember if I was breathing. I expected the security to find me and stop me. I inserted some SD cards into the satellite phone and started downloading. It only took a couple of seconds compared to the rest. I was so relieved. Whatever happens now, these files will be used to bring these bastards to justice. There is nothing they can do to prevent this. I left the server room and deleted the program as Ruth instructed. I couldn't believe I made it this far. I destroyed the note from Ailsa. The next 3 days were intense. Every time someone new came into class, I expected to be asked to leave. When I returned home late Thursday evening, I was mentally exhausted. My spirits were lifted when Leanne sent me a photo of her in the dress. She looked amazing. The dress showed very little cleavage, just a hint. It ended about 4 inches above her knees, and since it was pencil style, she wouldn't show off her butt when she sat down. The blue material really brought out her hair and eyes. She will break a lot of boys' hearts. I hope she finds someone like Michael. Everything was calm at work on Friday. I apologized for the forgotten phone, saying that I had been so absent-minded lately. High probability. Over the weekend, I made some notes for Leanne and Audrey, explaining how much I love them, how proud I am of them, etc. Yes, these were farewell entries, as I knew that shit and the fan would soon collide. All I could say to Michael was, "I'm sorry." I cried writing this down. These were the first tears since that morning. At 7:30 on Monday morning, I was at David's office. I had a big box and a big envelope for it. I spent the weekend going through those files. It was worse than Brenda imagined. She was one of the victims like Ailsa. I haven't read their files. I stopped David when he arrived. He was unhappy. "Leslie, please leave before I call security." I was determined that he would listen to me. I begged him. "David, I know what happened to me. I was drugged with illegal substances. I have evidence that senior employees of the company not only knew about this, but also participated in similar actions. Please give me 5 minutes of your time. I know that I can't fix what happened. I understand that Michael and the girls will never forgive me, but I want to explain so that they understand that I did not do this of my own free will. I want you to take control of them all. Use every means to pin them down. Take them to court. They have paid huge sums before. The money could give Michael and the girls security for life. Give the information to the police. Please. David." I don't know how I managed to reach him, but he reluctantly allowed me into his office. I gave him the box. It contained complete transcripts of the company's actions, including 8 seven-figure settlements for women who were taken advantage of, 5 board members, 6 senior managers, and at least 17 junior employees were or were still actively involved. Ryan was involved in organizing many of these events and received illegal substances from a doctor who joined in from time to time. Each event was described in detail, the woman named, the substances used, the sex committed, and by whom. I felt sick reading some of them. I haven't read many of them. What happened to me was in these files. Ryan was the one who arranged for Michael to find me. I told David about the "will you marry me" incident that led to me finding an assistant. I resisted Ryan so he couldn't have sex with me. David was shocked. I told him that there are even photographs and videos taken at these events on the server. I emailed all the content to him, including these. I gave him the decryption key. I warned him about corporate computers and phones. Once you file, the shit hits the fan. They will look at me, and I have every reason to believe that they will kill me. They won't let me talk. I have this new phone. Please do me a favor and text me when you get it. Then I will know and be careful. I'm not afraid of death. I'm already dead. I lost everything, everyone. It will be a relief in many ways. David was shocked by this simple statement. The second envelope contains everything I did to get my affairs in order. My will, my last notes for the girls, for Michael. My lawyer will handle the legal aspects, but I want you to give them these notes. I know you'll want to tell Michael everything. You need his permission to file a lawsuit against the firm. Please don't tell him about the possibility of something happening to me. He needs to focus on the girls. I will always love them, but I know that I have already lost them. I finished with tears. These were the second tears I allowed myself to cry after leaving that room. David said he would look into the files. If they contain what I said, he will make the necessary requests if Michael approves. I could see that he wanted to say more, but he didn't know what to say. When I left his office, I felt relieved. I knew my ordeal was coming to an end. Michael will have his answer. I was glad to find out that Ryan didn't have sex with me. Apparently, I resisted, despite the fact that they gave me enough illegal substances to put down a horse. I could die knowing that I wasn't unfaithful to Michael. The next day in the office I was smiling, and one of the girls, Karina, asked, "What made you so happy?" I told her that Leanne had sent me some photos of her dancing. She looked amazing. She was having a lot of fun. Karina said, "You still have hope, if only she knew." Over the next month, Leanne wrote to me occasionally. If she was visiting my mother, she would drop by to chat for a few minutes. 2 months after my meeting with David, I received a message from him. He submitted the documents. The firm's lawyers were furious about the alleged behavior of so many senior employees, but I suspect that the evidence I collected did not allow them to challenge anything. They tried to minimize the damage. I should have felt joy, satisfaction, but I only felt relief. Soon it will all be over. David also informed the police, who conducted their own investigation. I could expect a visit from them as a victim. I thought, they better hurry. After returning from Inverness, I spoke to Ruth and told her that things were even worse than I thought. I wasn't unfaithful. She was shocked. I thanked her because her work allowed me to give an answer to Michael and our girls. There were more than 170 victims who will also be helped. Her jaw dropped. If she had been on the jury, she said, no defense would have convinced her to acquit. Any jury member who thought otherwise would have been convinced. I asked her for advice on how to make sure that if someone comes into my house to kill me, it will be recorded and broadcast so that everyone who needs it can see it. She came and installed some things. I had to leave while she was doing this, so I wouldn't know what to look for or where. She showed me a couple of cameras that were mostly hidden, but would be found by a professional if he looked. If I interfered with their system, they would expect some kind of cover-up in my own home. She also did something to my car, just in case. I was ready. All I had to do was wait. Michael. When Leanne came to me and suggested that I ask Leslie to make a dress for her dance, I was shocked. Leanne was so mad at Leslie that I thought she would never ask for it. Leanne said she looked everywhere, but the dress she and her mom decided to make was the only one she loved. Even as I spoke, I was not sure of the wisdom of this decision. Are you sure? She'll probably have to come here since all her stuff is here for that. It will take some time, and you will have to be with her, help her. Can you do this without fighting? I didn't add, can I do it? Leanne thought for a few moments before answering, I think so. She may refuse. Leanne recalled their visits. I didn't want to voice this thought. The few times we've met have ended badly for both parties. I could see how deeply hurt Leslie was in her eyes. I stalled for time. We need Audrey's permission. She's part of it. Her mom here might be too much for her. Leanne nodded. Audrey was not pleased, but reluctantly agreed. Leanne called her grandmother. Doreen called on Sunday lunchtime to say that Leslie was willing, but as I suspected, she needed access to her things. I couldn't take everything apart and take it to her. She was leaving for a course next week, so had to do it this week. She could start this afternoon if Leanne was available. We agreed. Her knock on the door surprised everyone. I didn't expect this. I thought she would just come in. Leanne invited her inside. It was very difficult to find any words. I think I said, thank you. Leanne and Leslie went to the craft room to start working. When I cooked their dinner, I cooked enough to include Leslie. I wasn't sure whether I should do this or not, whether she will accept it or not. Leslie has lost a lot of weight. Her face was gaunt, and she looked many years older. Her clothes were hanging on her. I was shocked by her appearance, as she always took care of herself. She made sure the girls looked after themselves too. She and I were arguing about how I don't always eat healthy when there is another option. Audrey was the one running around making sure they had drinks. She smiled. When the food was ready, I told her to invite her mother to the table. It was a very strange dinner. There were no funny jokes, no stories like before. Leslie complimented me on how my skills had improved. By Wednesday, she was done. Leanne looked amazing. Leslie has always had exceptional skills, but she put a lot of effort into making Leanne prom queen. She asked if she could take Leanne on Saturday to buy her more suitable underwear. I agreed, which surprised her. I was afraid that I would have to help Leanne choose underwear. Audrey will also need more suitable underwear soon. After 2 weeks, what I knew exploded in my face. David called me and told me to drop everything and come to his office. I was shocked. What's happened? We need to talk in person. If what you're doing isn't life or death, come now. I can't talk about this on the phone. I went there as quickly as possible. David didn't usually panic, but here he was clearly panicking. I was shocked by his appearance. Michael is an optimistic person, but he was clearly very worried. This couldn't be good. Michael, he said grimly, what I have can give you closure or cause you a lot of grief or both. This carries serious risks, not for you, but for someone close to you. I will explain the essence of what is contained in this material. He gestured to the mass of documents on his desk, how it affects your life, what legal options you have, and what I suggest you do if you want to follow through with this. I started to worry. David's tone suggested something very dark about my family. He knew he had my full attention. I would never have guessed in a million years what he would say next. Leslie caught me yesterday. I started to speak, feeling anger rising, but he raised his hand. She didn't want to talk to you. That's not what she wanted, but let me explain. She spent an hour telling me everything. Leslie didn't lie to you when she said she didn't know what happened that night. I looked at him in shock. He was my friend, but he believed her. She needed to know for herself, and from then on she was driven to give you all closure. Her lawyer made an offer that was factual, but she had no evidence. Last month, there was an incident in her office that brought up some repressed memories. Someone else helped her put everything together. She risked her life to find out what happened that night. She learned that not only was her co-worker Ryan involved in her abuse, but he was part of a group that included many powerful men, including some of her bosses, who were using illegal substances to have sex with women. She discovered that they had been storing their exploits in files on a very secure server at their offices in Inverness. When she traveled to Inverness, she intended to infiltrate this server and recover these files, which she hoped would expose many of her firm's senior employees. She hoped to gain knowledge of what happened to her in order to give you all closure. I haven't done anything since Leslie left except go through these files. Over 170 women, including Leslie. She wants us to move against them to bring them to justice, to sue them and use the money to secure a secure future for you and the girls. She doesn't want it. Give this to the police for investigation if they can. The people involved are so high up in the establishment that they probably think they can do anything and get away with it. With justification. These documents prove that everything she says is true. She wants to give you completeness. Over and over again, she said this. If we move against them, they will probably hunt her down and kill her to prevent her from talking. I shouldn't have told you that. She gave me a copy of all her papers, will, etc. She took her pension money and put it in a trust for the girls. Everything suits girls. She doesn't want a funeral. Who will go to the funeral of a woman of easy virtue? She has no family or friends. This simple fact hurt me deeply. I cried. Michael, among the files, there was a file about what happened to her. Despite being given an illegal substance, she did not give in to Ryan. He failed to have sex with her. He was the one who wrote you the message. He wants to marry her. I was stunned. My mind replayed those terrible few minutes. I was so angry when I found her that I didn't look at her carefully. I took photos when I was supposed to inspect it. She wasn't drunk. They put something on her. Nevertheless, she didn't give in and remained faithful to me. I felt so useless. I failed her when she needed me. I made it worse in the following months. Almost every time we met. Why? She always said she didn't know and I got angry. Now I understand why. Too late. You said Inverness. She had spent the previous week in the house working on Leon's dress. She didn't mention anything about files. She seemed happy spending time with Leanne and Audrey. David was silent. His first words shocked me. She didn't expect to come back alive. She used an encrypted satellite phone to email these files to me. Her mom had an encrypted code to give to me if she got caught. She is happy to die exposing them since she has no reason to live. I was silent, my jaw dropped open. I couldn't say anything. Leslie wanted to die. I was the reason for this. Tears flowed. "I'll get Ryan and kill him myself," I shouted. David was adamant. "No, we'll get him and them. We will avenge Leslie and keep you out of prison. Who will take care of the girls?" David knew he was right. Despite my anger, I knew he was right. I was angry at Ryan, but most of all at myself. What did I do by ignoring the Leslie I knew? "What should we do?" I was able to ask. I needed something to focus on as my mind was all over the place. "I will prepare all the necessary documents. We will sue them for various actions that they as a company have tolerated and even contributed to. The loss of your marriage and the impact on your girls and family. They've given seven-figure compensation in the past. I will also ensure that the other women involved have evidence to pursue their claims. I will also contact someone I trust in the police. He is a Rottweiler. He will want to see each of them behind bars, despite their connections. It won't be pretty. Their lawyers will use every trick to get the evidence thrown out because of how it was obtained. They may succeed, but who and what they did will be in the public domain. The media will be everywhere. This may help us because what judge would want to reject evidence when so many people have been so abused? The public won't accept the old network of guys protecting their own. It will take several weeks to prepare all the documents. All my companies will be involved. We'll only have one chance to get this right, for Leslie and the other victims." David looked at me very seriously. It was like he read my thoughts. "Michael, despite what you probably want to do, you can't act differently around Leslie. It might show them that you know something, so you'll be in danger too." I had to ask for my own peace of mind. "David, how much risk is there for Leslie? Is she being dramatic?" "Michael, these are seriously connected people. There's enough in these documents to convince me that she won't be safe if they find out she stole these files." This answer didn't help. In total, I was with David for about 2 hours. I left completely stunned. Everything I thought I knew was blown up in my face. Leslie was the one who fought for our marriage. She fought that bastard off. I never listened to her, never gave her the opportunity to explain why she didn't know. I left her feeling so bad that she wanted to die. My words, "miserable damn life," seem true to both of us now. How could I fix anything with her after everything I've done? It was me who killed our marriage. Now I had my sights set on her, and there was nothing I could do about it. Leslie. After the message from David, I calmed down and waited. I was surprisingly calm for someone waiting to die. It was about 7 in the evening when I heard the engine of a car approaching. The door slammed and someone ran towards my house. The door was not locked. I was surprised to see Ryan. I expected him to send someone else. "You fucking bitch. Do you know what you did?" He was terribly angry and looked around to make sure I was alone. He noticed the decoys Ruth had set and pulled them out. "I will kill you and get away with it because we are in charge here. You may hurt some, but we will survive. We always survive." I tried to stay calm. "I'm surprised, Ryan. I didn't think you had the guts to kill someone." "Are you going to beg for your life?" he asked. "No, I'm already dead. I lost everyone I loved because of you. Your death will only free me from loneliness. You will die in prison." I laughed, and he began to approach me. I didn't mean to defend myself. I wanted to die. I actually smiled. As I awaited the fatal blow, I heard my father's voice, "Drop the knife or I'll shoot." Ryan turned and saw my father with a gun. The father used self-defense. Dad, are you okay?" I screamed. My father held me. I cried so hard. Mom came in and spoke to father. I collapsed. I came with paramedics around me. The police spoke to the father. They were going to arrest him. I told them that everything was recorded. Talk to Ruth. She will tell you where to look. I lost consciousness again. I was told that I came in and out of consciousness several times. I was later told that they contacted Ruth, who gave them the locations of the cameras she had installed in and around the house. They inserted an SD card from the main camera in this room into my computer. They say it didn't look any better on screen. Mom was already in shock, but when she saw what happened, she hugged her father and cried. She repeated, "I could have lost both of you," again and again. The detective said, "It's an obvious case of self-defense." I found myself in an ambulance with wires sticking out from everywhere, as it seemed to me. I had problems breathing and concentrating on anything. I was still in and out of consciousness, so I don't remember being in the hospital for long before I was knocked out by something. I was in a state of complete collapse, as I was told later. The recording showed the psychiatrists that I was a danger to myself, so they kept me under sedatives for several days. When I came to my senses, my mother was nearby. She seemed genuinely glad to see me awake. My first word was, "Daddy, your dad is fine. He just came out because he had been sitting for several hours. We were all so worried about you. Your heartbeat was so erratic. They were afraid you might have a stroke or heart attack. They think it's because you're thin. I knew you had lost weight, but I didn't think it was that much. Why?" I had no interest in food. I had no interest in anything. I lost everything I treasured. Why should I lie? Mom sobbed, "Leslie, we judged you. We didn't listen to you. We had to. We never thought you could cheat on Michael, but those photos he sent us." She couldn't continue. I changed the subject. "How did Daddy know to come to the annex?" "David called and warned us that you were in danger and told us to keep an eye on you. Your father asked how great the danger was. David said someone might try to kill you. We were stunned. Despite what we did to you, we love you. The father took the gun. I will no longer consider his hobby of skeet shooting an excuse for drinking." Then the father came in. He had a big smile on his face. "Glad to see you awake. I have to respond to messages from Lion and Audrey every 5 minutes asking about you. How are you?" I thought for a few minutes. "I'm not sure. I didn't expect to be here. Glad you're okay. I couldn't believe it when you showed up. How did it go with the police?" "We weren't allowed to be with you for 2 days while you were kept under deep sedation. You resisted it. I gave them my testimony, and they were quite happy with it. The notes certainly helped. Michael came with David and the girls. They told us everything about what happened to you. How did you find out and get into their secret files to expose them? The police arrest everyone. The media is everywhere. Some names are very famous. Ever since we were allowed to be with you, your mom and I are here all the time we are allowed to be. If your mom isn't here, Lion is. Michael asks to keep him posted. He supports Audrey, who is shocked. She took the news of what happened very badly. She didn't want to lose you. We didn't know that she was sneaking into the annex." I started crying. How could I be so selfish? Don't think about how my death will affect my girls. Mom hugged me. The nurse came and asked them to leave. I needed lunch and therapy. They could have returned after 2:30 p.m. I didn't want to let my mother go. The nurse was very sympathetic. "Okay, your mom can stay. She will help you eat." This was the first step towards recovery. The process is still ongoing. The psychiatrist was very good. The therapy was about why I wanted to die. She helped me talk about what happened and how I responded to the rejection of my family and friends. I have accumulated so much pain. The fact that no one believed me made me feel worthless and called into question that relationship. Over many sessions over the next 10 days, she helped me understand that it was possible to restore this relationship, although it would be different. Although what they tried to do to me was not what made me look for answers. It was my misunderstanding why I allowed this to happen, who it was, what caused my infidelity. These thoughts triggered all my emotional reactions. My ignorance did not allow me to find peace. I couldn't understand why I cheated, and because of this, I couldn't find peace until I figured out why. I needed to know. My family needed to know for closure. These were the reasons behind my seemingly suicidal quest to find those files. She continued, now that you know the truth, you can focus on rebuilding your self-esteem. You have shown a lot of courage, determination, and resilience to complete this task. You showed that you are not worthless. I wasn't sure about this. When she asked about Ryan and his attack on me, why didn't I? Defended yourself. I explained, I was glad knowing I was going to die because I knew I wasn't unfaithful to Michael. Since I had no life, this would be a release from my pain and my family's scorn. She smiled, being unfaithful and not knowing why defined you. You never sought forgiveness because you couldn't forgive yourself. Now you have the answer to both questions. You weren't unfaithful, and you know why you ended up in that room. Your girls, your parents, and Michael all know the truth. You can restore this relationship if you want, or you can stay alone. I hope you will take care of yourself enough to allow yourself to love again. I shook my head. I don't know if I can. I still lost Michael. Unfortunately, during all this time, wanting to die, I never thought about the impact of my death on my girls. Audrey was very upset, I was told. Leon copes, but how well? I want to build a new relationship with them if we can. I'll try to stay positive. I understand that this will not be easy. I'm not going to die anytime soon. She said quietly, Audrey is being helped by my colleague, who is very good with her. She had the same question, why, but she found a different answer. You didn't want them in your life. I was shocked. Knowing what you did to give them an answer showed her how much you loved them. Almost losing you without restoring what was destroyed her. She is gradually getting better. You need time, the injury is still very fresh. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. It will take time to rebuild you, the Leslie you were before. Don't try to run until you can't walk. There will be stumbles. Let us help. Let others help when needed. Scream when it gets too hard. Don't keep it all inside. I nodded, although it was too much to take in. I'll do whatever you suggest to help them. I think we are getting closer to an agreement that you can be released from the hospital. I would suggest family therapy. It won't be easy, but it should help create a path for all of you to move forward. Whether together or apart, time will tell. Michael, as far as I know, has not spoken to anyone. He was obsessed with helping your girls. The media revolves around your family all the time. Your father is a hero to many for saving his daughter. The people you expose don't enjoy the attention. I suggest not giving interviews to the media. Let your lawyer handle this. Focus on your recovery and the girl's recovery. I nodded. I never wanted to be famous or now infamous. I just wanted to be a mom to my girls and a wife to Michael. I will try family therapy so I can be there for them if they need me, repairing so many broken relationships. She continued, we will still have our meetings as we have a lot to discuss based on your answers. You're not a woman of easy virtue, but you still think that way about yourself. We need to work on this. Being focused on your girls is good, up to a point, but you also have to look out for your own well-being. You won't be able to help them if you're unwell yourself. You may think this is bad news, but you will be discharged to the care of your parents. This is so they can make sure you eat, go to therapy, and start healing yourself. It's not necessary, so if circumstances change and you want to live with Michael and the girls, and they do too, it's possible. You need support just like they do. Your mom works with a nutritionist to make sure you eat right. Don't overeat, but regain your strength. You can go home tomorrow. I thought, home, where is it? Michael. The weeks dragged on. David contacted me and said today is the day. He will inform Leslie so she can prepare. I was not myself with anxiety. I arrived at school early to pick up the girls and make sure they were safe. I didn't know what to do with Leslie. Will she be safe? My phone rang around 8 in the evening. It was Doreen. She briefly described what happened. I was shocked that John killed Ryan to prevent Leslie's murder. It was my job. John was fine, but Leslie was taken to the hospital. Her heartbeat was unstable. The paramedics were very concerned for her. She promised to keep me updated as the ambulance was leaving. I told the girls, who were shocked and very worried. I said I'll explain everything later, but for now we have to hope their mom survives. We hugged all night, waiting for the call. Doreen, to her credit, kept us informed. Each call increased my guilt. Leslie was physically and mentally ill. After midnight, when they left the hospital, Leslie was still sedated, but struggling with it. The next afternoon, David, the girls, and I went to their house to explain everything. The faces of Leslie's parents, the looks of confusion on the girls' faces, as David told them everything Leslie had done to find out why she was in that hotel room. David reported that a friend of his from the police had discovered a file in Ryan's house that outlined his plans to kidnap Leslie and his plans for her. Leslie fought him off. He was furious with her for this. He planned to try again. Doreen cried. Her sobs were deep. I never believed her when she said she didn't know. I called her a woman of easy virtue, a liar. She struggled. Every time we fought about it, I saw her pain deepen. I knew she was hurting, but I couldn't bring myself to help her for something she had done willingly. But she didn't do it. She will never be able to forgive me. She will hate me forever and with every right. She was starving to death. She's lost so much weight. That's why her heart is unstable. She wanted to die. She lost everyone she loved. When she made a new will, she said she did not want a funeral. A woman of easy virtue has no family or friends. She never said family, but I knew she included us in it. I failed her, my own daughter. Leanne added, when she first spoke to me that Sunday, she said she thought she knew what happened, but was looking for evidence for us. For us. The only time she ate with us was on Sunday when Audrey invited her. Otherwise, she wouldn't eat anything. The sharp bottle caps were there to prevent what she suspected had happened to her. Why didn't she tell us? That would change everything, wouldn't it? I cried. I said, it's all my fault. I saw Leslie and thought she was drunk. Instead of checking on her, I took those damn photos and became convinced that everyone was against her because of her cheating. Now I know that I should have done something that I didn't do. As a loving husband, I had to check on Leslie. I never believed she was capable of cheating, so why didn't I test her? If I had done that, I would have known what happened and things would have been different. She will hate me forever. We were all in our own world of pain for our roles in this. I felt even more miserable. I failed Leslie and our girls. I wanted to see her, but I knew she wouldn't want to see me. Will she see that I've backed down? Doreen kept me informed. Lynn also saw Leslie several times. It was very sad for both of them. The psychiatrist mentioned family counseling, which would help us all build new relationships. Leanne and Audrey were all for it. She could tell me about my reluctance. We talked without the girls present. In the end, I agreed, although I doubted Leslie would agree. I knew that if this situation had changed, I would not have done it. Leslie. Mom and Dad took me from the hospital to their home. She brought some of my things from the annex and put them in my old room. She explained that she needed to keep an eye on me to make sure I was eating. Okay, I was a difficult patient at the hospital, but that's really what you'd call food. When my weight is acceptable, I can return to the annex if I want. Mom cried, Leslie, I can't take back the hurtful words I said to you. Why I never believed that you didn't know is etched in my head. You've never lied to us except what you and Michael did. On your dates, you always stood up for the truth. You taught this to the girls. Circumstances do not excuse me. I drove you away when you needed it. We want more than anything to be close to you. I know that you can never forgive me. I love you. I started crying. I couldn't hold back my tears. I didn't understand why. Mom and I hug and cry. I screamed. We held each other the whole time. I wasn't exactly force-fed, but it was close to it. I was tired and went to rest on the bed. I was awake and heard my mother talking on the phone to what I assumed was Michael and the girls. I knew I needed to respond to my mother's statement, but I didn't know how. What did I want? I fell asleep. I was awakened by the sound of voices coming from the living room. I went downstairs. I stopped when I saw Michael and the girls. I was about to turn and leave when Audrey saw me and rushed towards me. She grabbed me and hugged me like there was no tomorrow. I hugged her back and tears just started flowing from my eyes. I was so happy, so why was I crying? When I realized that Audrey was crying too, I tried to help her. "It's okay, Audrey, we'll be okay." My words only seemed to make things worse for her. I looked at the others for help, but they didn't know the right words either. We ended up cuddling on the couch. Leanne looked like she wanted to join us, so I opened my other hand, and she pressed herself against me too. We all cried. I tried to tell them that I loved them and would always be there if they needed me. Audrey found her voice. "I love you, Mom. I thought I had lost you and would never be able to tell you this again. I love you." I completely broke down. I held them both so tightly that I was sure I had hurt them. I couldn't see anyone because I was crying. It took a while for all the sobbing and crying to stop. Mom was in the kitchen. Dad and Michael helped her. Soon we were all sitting at the table. Another meal. I looked at mine. Mom knew I didn't like spinach. "Leslie, you will find some foods on your plate that you don't particularly like. Not to poison you, but because they are very good for your health. Spinach is full of iron because your blood counts are very low." Have you ever eaten a meal where every bite is tracked from plate to mouth? "Okay, I'll eat this, but eat yours." After dinner, Leanne regaled us all with dance stories. Her friends were so impressed with her dress. They thought her mom and grandma were so cool that they helped with it. She and her friends used spiked bottle caps. Their parents thought it was a brilliant idea. Michael was happy when he saw that Leanne was Leanne. When he looked at me, I saw sadness. We never had a moment alone to talk. I knew we needed this. The psychiatrist recommended consultation. I didn't know what to tell him. I knew that any relationships I had with girls had to include Michael. I wouldn't rule him out. The next day, just after lunch, Michael appeared. Our parents left us alone. From this, I realized that this was pre-planned. Michael looked very worried and sad. I thought he was going to slam the door so the girls and I could be together. I prepared for this news. His words and tone stunned me. He was so sad. "Leslie, I need to apologize for everything I did. I know it will never be enough. Until the moment I saw you on that bed, I did not have a second of doubt that you would not cheat on me. If I had spent 10 more seconds thinking about smelling enough to fully enter the room, I would have realized what happened. I would have called the police and Ryan would have been in jail. I jumped to a conclusion contrary to what I knew about you. Instead of helping you, I took photos of what I found, which, unfortunately, I sent to your parents so that they would believe me. My reaction caused a reaction from the girls. We cut you off. When forced meetings hurt the girls, you did it Leslie's way, you put the girls first. Every time our paths crossed, our need to know why only made us angry at each other. You're at me because I didn't believe that you didn't know, and I'm at you because you couldn't tell me. When David told me what you did, the likely price you paid to provide us with answers, you chose death because I took your whole life. I thought I couldn't feel any worse. I was wrong. David added that you don't want a funeral. This simple and profound fact broke me. I was the reason for this, and you fought that bastard. You were the woman I married and who I threw away because I couldn't talk to her or listen to her. I dismissed your character without a second glance. You never lied to me, so why didn't I accept your words? I'm not asking for forgiveness because what I did is unforgivable. I just hope that we can at least build enough of a relationship to be there for our girls. They need both parents to guide them. They need you in their life. I took a few minutes to collect my thoughts. Michael's face showed that he expected Leslie's furious attack. "Michael, we can't just focus on what's happened since that damn day happened. My psychiatrist got to the bottom of why I did what I did after that day, even before my preferred ending death. I was caught in two horns of the same dilemma. Why? I didn't know. Without this, there was no completeness for you, for me. Forgiveness. I couldn't forgive myself, so I couldn't ask you or the girls for forgiveness. Michael, forgive yourself. Leave it behind. Family counseling has been suggested, and seeing how the girls are struggling, I think it will help. I think you need help too. Every night when I was here alone, I wanted us to be together, but now I know that it is impossible because we have both changed. What we had is gone. When Ryan was at my house, I didn't expect to be here today. It's embarrassing to say, but I never thought about how my death would affect the girls. I want to be there to guide them. We must help them, but as I am told, in order to do this, I must take care of my well-being. You too. Wherever we go, however our relationship develops, it should be for the right reasons, not because we feel guilty about what happened and how we dealt with it. Today, I hope, marks the beginning of the process of building new relationships. I spent months in pain, not knowing why I destroyed us. The pain of not being believed was worse. I felt insignificant. With help, I hope to find my true self. You were similarly affected. You have to find the Michael that everyone loves, not the one that was full of hate. We will have the opportunity to restore our relationship. Where this will lead, I don't know. If we find again what we had in a different form, and it leads to us becoming lovers and partners, it will be good for all of us. If we end up just being friends, at least it will be good for the girls. We definitely won't rekindle our love if we carry this heavy load around everywhere. We all need to figure out how what happened affected our feelings, cope with our experiences, and restore ourselves. We may need sessions together as a couple, as well as family sessions. Individual sessions, too. It will take work. I've never been this tearful, but the psychiatrist says these are the tears I haven't let out before. I need to let them go, so don't worry if you say something and I'll cry. It may not be clear to me why. If we find ourselves, then we can find each other again. Michael nodded, tiredly. I accept the need for consultation to help us all. I can do one thing, and I will do it. I will let everyone know that you didn't cheat on me and how you fought that bastard. You shouldn't be rejected when you were the one who fought for our marriage. I ran away when you needed me most. I will not forget the past, I will not dwell on it, but I will learn a lesson. Hopefully we can end up in a good place. We talked a little more about girls. I learned that Michael was afraid he would have to help Leanne or Audrey pick out underwear. I laughed. He told me about Audrey's treatment. It was almost like old times, but there was none of the warmth, the fun that we had when telling stories about them. Will it ever happen again? When he asked about me, I said, another time. I still haven't gotten through processing why I didn't die. Michael left after about 40 minutes. I was tired. We didn't kiss or hug. But best of all, we didn't fight. I knew that I still needed to talk to my parents and think about starting to build a new relationship with them. Is this even possible? I knew it would all be difficult, but there was a little hope at the end of the tunnel. The journey to her was just beginning. Do I have enough will or strength? Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.